further on Sunday and bar 1 or 2 showers in western Scotland, most of us on Sunday should be dry and bright.
We are GB News.
And we'd like to say thank you
to each and every one of you
for helping our great nation
find its voice.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Across England, Scotland,
Wales and Northern Ireland.
On TV,
on radio and online.
We're proud to be
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
On the Mark Steyn Show, we cover the stories a lot of people are scared even to mention. The stuff that really matters with some of the world's biggest thinkers.
Now is his opportunity to kind of take the steering wheel of history.
Break away from the flop at 8 o'clock on GB News with the Mark Steyn Show.
Hello, I'm Esther McVeigh.
And I'm Philip Davis.
Whether you're watching or listening on TV, online or on radio, we handpick the latest stories, debates and expert opinions for your weekend. So whether that's politics, news or showbiz, we've got it covered.
Join us every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on GB News.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.
You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh, my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know. The latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
Good evening. Coming up tonight on Farage with me, Foxy. We need to make the family great again. I'll explain why we are losing our identity in households around the country, and I'll speak to a mum and a dad who will give me some hope, and all of us some hope, I hope. It's already a struggle to see your GP face-to-face. Well, in the next 5 years, you may not even be able to have a telephone call with them, as 1 in 4 GPs could be leaving the profession. And a new study has found that 1/3 of university students say that free speech is threatened on campus. No beep, Sherlock. And they perceive this as a chilling effect that discourages open debate. Are we moving into a society where we are teaching people what to think and not how to think? And on Talking Pints, star of BBC documentary Alfie Cookson is here to tell me how he started building a business on a tandem bike. First, though, the news with Polly Middlehurst. Evening, Polly.
Laurence, thank you. Good evening to you. The top story today on GB News, the Prime Minister and the Chancellor have been busy defending the government's growth plan, despite criticism of the mini-budget and the chaos in the financial markets yesterday. Speaking for the first time since the tax-cutting measures were announced, Liz Truss insisted the £45 billion package is the right plan to get the economy going. Kwasi Kwarteng, who was with the Prime Minister in Darlington, said the strategy will help people with their energy bills and support those struggling with cost of living pressures.
What we're focusing on is delivering the growth plan and making sure, with things like our energy intervention, that people right across this country are protected. And without growth, you're not going to get the public services. We're not going to generate the income and the tax revenue to pay for the public services that we want to see. And that's why the mini-budget was absolutely essential in resetting the debate around growth and focusing us on delivering much better growth outcomes for our people.
But the Shadow Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, has described the mini-budget as disastrous and is urging the government to reverse its plans.
Financial markets are rightly very worried about the government's so-called mini-budget, a series of unfunded tax cuts. And it's not just financial markets, it's families and pensioners up and down the country who are worried sick about what this means for interest rates, what it means for their pensions. The government needs to rethink this crisis made in Downing Street, recall Parliament and reverse their budget.
The news away from politics today. An American woman accused of killing 19-year-old British teenager Harry Dunn has appeared in court for the first time in the UK. The teenager was killed in a collision outside a military base in Northamptonshire in 2019. And Anne Sakoulas, who's charged with causing death by dangerous driving, appeared at Westminster Magistrates Court today via a video link. She was granted unconditional bail until the case is heard at the Old Bailey next month. And she was told she'll be required to appear in person. An 80-year-old man has been convicted of murdering his partner and their young son more than 45 years ago. William McDowell was jailed for life in Inverness with a minimum term to serve of 30 years for killing Renee and Andrew McRae in 1976. On sentencing, the judge said the murders were planned and appear to have been executions. McDowell was also found guilty of disposing of the bodies, which have never been found. In the United States, President Biden has said Hurricane Ian is feared to have caused a substantial loss of life. The hurricane, which peaked at a Category 4 storm, caused severe flooding in Florida, high winds and storm surges. President Biden spoke during a visit to the Federal Emergency Management Agency.
It made landfall yesterday, and it is still moving across the state today. This could be the deadliest hurricane in Florida's history. The numbers are still unclear, but we're hearing early reports of what may be substantial loss of life.
And we'll keep you up to date on that hurricane story from the United States in our next bulletin. In the meantime, you are bang up to date on TV, online and DAB+ radio. You're with GB News, the People's Channel, where now Laurence Fox is sitting in for Farage.
Good evening. It has been impossible in the last few days to turn on the TV or the radio and not be bombarded with news and views on the economy, stupid. Shrill demands from all the right places about how the Chancellor must U-turn immediately on his mini-budget, as 40% of mortgages have been removed from the market, 1,621 of them since last Friday alone. Now, the media have to moan about the immediate, I suppose, but what if the long-term prospects of the economy have already been decided? What if the long-term prospects of society itself have also been decided? What if all this carping over quasi-quarting makes no difference at all? But don't worry, this is not going to be a WEF monologue. All across the world, from Baltimore to Beijing, birth rates are plummeting, except in Africa, where the average woman in Niger manages 7 sprogs in her lifetime, but that's a different story. In 1969, the sexily named TFR, total fertility rate, in the UK was 2.51. Today, it sits at a rather unsexy 1.61. Bearing in mind that to sustain a population, a TFR of 2.1 is required, our future, or lack thereof, is looking pretty bleak. So why have we stopped making enough babies? Because one thing is for sure, demography is destiny. Is it the oversensitive doomsday cultist urging us not to have kids to slow the oncoming, inevitable, the absolutely not allowed to disagree with them at all, any minute now, climate apocalypse? Is it that chances of the young getting on the property ladder are getting slimmer with every passing year? Or women hamstrung by the cruelty of time, understandably wanting to make the most of their talents whilst they can, leaving it too late or not at all? Is it marriage in collapse? Single-parent families on the increase, divorce rates soaring, absent dads, ambitious mums, the family is slowly dying. And if you do finally get that first house, you'll be lucky to get a communal dining area where you can actually practice family-ing, in between trying to fit a bed into your new build, which has the smallest room sizes since the 1920s. The family is what makes the nation. It's its bedrock. The family is where we learn our first lessons, our deepest connections, where we make some of our greatest mistakes and are forgiven for them. We're formed by it, loved by it, mourned by it, and made by it, and we need to make the family great again. So to all those out there tonight, sacrificing for your families, thank you. Your country needs you. And your mission, should you choose to accept it, is when you head up to bed tonight, light a nice, fragrant candle, slip under those covers, and get jiggy. Make babies, ladies and gentlemen. Our future depends on it. So, tonight, I am asking you, how do we make families great again? Get in touch at farage@gbnews.uk or tweet using the hashtag Farage on GB News. Well, joining me to discuss this is founder of father's charity, Dad's House, Billy, what? How do I pronounce your surname? You told McClanagan. Is that right?
McClanagan.
McClanagan. Thank you for joining me. Lovely to see you. Billy, what advice would you give to a newly single father?
Take a step back and look after yourself. And it depends on if he's the main carer, if he's gone through the family court system. It's something that can break a man in two if he's gone through the family court system, Laurence. And I see it every day. I see it on a daily basis. And the stories are harrowing. We've got full-time dads. We've got dads who they have their kids on a Friday or a Saturday, you know, and some dads are not allowed to have them overnight, you know, but the thing is they have to look after themselves, you know, both psychology is so important and healthy eating as well, you know, nutrition, the balance and getting all the chemicals right when you're broken. You know?
So you're talking about the sort of the trauma of divorce. You know, as we look at divorce, we often look towards women and go, you know, it must be very painful for them. And you know, with this modern world of sort of what they call toxic masculinity, we're sort of meant to breeze our way through it. But actually, the effect that divorce has on men is profound. You're saying, and you've got to really, really look after yourself.
It's the only thing that can destroy a man, not being able to see his children. You know, and it's something that the demographics of single dads in the United Kingdom, there's over 2 million, just above 2 million. There's 2 million single mums. There's no official statistics on actually how many dads see their children, but the statistics that there is from the Office of National Statistics is just over 200,000, and they're spread out all over the UK. In London tonight, there's roughly 26,000 dads who are the main carers, and over 200,000 dads who have their kids at weekends or on a Wednesday evening. And there's not any support system in place for a dad going through divorce or the family court or financially, you know.
Do you think dads are treated differently by the family court?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But it's getting better. It's getting better because I really think it's a new generation of judges, barristers, solicitors, men who are toxic masculinity. I meet the most wonderful dads you can ever meet in your life, you know, and I don't listen to all that, you know, and I help dads on a daily basis, but we also help mums as well. And we've got family law clinics run by Simon Bruce. And Simon won't take any toxic masculinity nonsense either. You know, it's so important to love the dads when they come in because they're destroyed.
Kids need both their parents, don't they? Even in a broken family.
Absolutely, you know.
Do you think that this the family court system? It's been a long time since I went through it, but the family court system is now coming back towards the idea of a 50-50 shared care arrangement being the right way of dealing with it?
Possibly.
Starting as a starting point, because dads are being thrown onto the wasteland.
It'll never be a starting point for a long time.
Do you think it should be?
It really depends. It depends on the mum and the dad, you know, because every case is so personal and every case is different. But the case is, it's about the children.
Yeah.
You know, the kids need their dad and they need their mums. A lot of it that we come across, the adults can't get on. There's a lot of pettiness, there's a lot of hatred, there's a lot of love. Someone still loves someone, you know, and when someone gets rejected, it's difficult to accept that they've moved on, and then when they do go to family court, they do find that they've got someone else, whether it's a mum or a dad, it kicks it all off again. So all that animosity rises again. And it's something that Dad's House, we support dads with football, breakfast clubs, food banks, Dad's yoga, you know.
Dad yoga,
yeah,
I like it.
It's brilliant, you know. So there has to be more places to help dads in the practical sense of, are you okay? Come and have a cup of tea, you know, and let a man pour his heart out without being judged. You know, there's nowhere a dad can go.
Because we're not trained to do it, are we, as men? We're sort of trained to be stoics. And then, you know, some profound experience happens in your life and you don't have a place to go. So what you're saying is, create spaces, safe spaces.
No, but there has to be.
Create safe
you know,
spaces.
there are spaces for mums, women.
Yeah, lots of them.
There's none for dads. You know, on a daily basis, I'll get 20 to 50 calls a day. You know,
20 or 30 calls a day?
20 to 50 calls
50
a day.
a
Yeah,
day.
yeah. And that's just new inquiries. And we have the family law clinics where we have the best solicitors, we've got chambers, we've got the best partnership with quorum chambers. And the barristers there, they love the work that we do. They love supporting dads, you know, and they also support mums. It's very
Which
important.
should be the case, isn't it? Because ultimately what you want to do in a divided and difficult situation like a divorce is try and bring people together and not push them apart. And only dads and only mums do that very well.
Yeah.
And we need to sort of possibly remove the adversarial nature of the whole thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And cooking classes, you know, and when I'm saying food is so important, to get the dads cooking with the kids, it's absolutely dynamite.
Oh,
There should be cooking classes all over the UK. for
You haven't
dads.
seen my cooking, mate. It's not so good.
Yeah, I'm worse than you.
Anyway, Billy, thank you very much, and thank you for coming to talk to me and give your advice. Right, so that was founder of Dad's House. Well, you heard a great case there to make a family great again. It's not just dads we will be covering tonight, it's women and mums too, who are becoming more ambitious and putting off having children perhaps in their early 30s to hold on to a career. Maybe that's down to the economic climate, maybe it's down to a more equal society that we live in. Well, I have for you someone who can give me a great explanation on this. I am joined by Amy Ansell, entrepreneur and star of The Apprentice, mum of one. And Amy, lovely to see you.
Lovely to be here.
So you've got a child, and you had a child later in your life.
Yes.
Is that right?
So I tick every box here. I waited till I was in my 40s to have a child.
Did that worry you? I've got a lot of friends that are sort of coming up to 40 and they're going, girlfriends who are going, I've got girls going up to 35 going, So what's like?
Listen, crapshoot, right? You just don't know what's going to happen once you start trying. See what happens. But for me, I was lucky. I didn't need any intervention, but I just risked it, I guess, and I waited till my 40s and got pregnant naturally, had my son at 43. So that's it for me. You know, I just know that one child is it. And I waited because I wanted to focus on my career, which I'm so glad I did.
How is that? It must be. I feel so sorry for women on so many levels. But the idea that a man can kind of work all the way through, build his career year on year on year on year, but a woman is constantly got this thing in the back of her mind all the time. What does that feel like to you? You seem pretty relaxed with it, but is it the topic of conversation when you get to a certain age as a woman?
You know what? Of course, my friends and a lot of my friends are in the same boat as I was and am. Waited later to have children, but you know, you just risked it. You have a baby when you want, and if you can't, and you need intervention, or ultimately you cannot have a child, you know, what can you do? But it is a risk, and it is stressful, I guess. If a child is what you really want as part of your life and your future, and it just doesn't happen, then maybe you kick yourself and say, oh, why did I wait so long? But luckily, I was not in that position. But I'm sure, sadly, many women are. How
do you juggle being a working mum and a mum?
It's really hard. It is a juggling act, exactly. Spinning plates, juggling, and you can't do everything perfectly. I've just accepted that, and I think once you accept that, it's all good, you know? I try to, when I'm with my son, I try to be 100% with my son and not with my eye on the phone and playing Lego and, you know, in his room with the other hand. So that's what I've learned to do, right? Just focus on one thing at a time and do the best you can when you're doing that thing. And then ultimately you're happy, in my opinion.
What's your favourite thing about being a mum?
Oh, gosh. I love seeing the world through my son's eyes. It's just refreshing and exciting, and, you know, the world is his oyster, and maybe, you know, as you get older and, you know, you kind of get a little jaded here and there, it's like it refreshes you and it gives you this sort of new lease on life. And I love being a mum, and I love that it's such a big part of my life. Yes, my work is, my business is, my husband, my family, but my son is my world.
So can I be sort of a bit personal here? Like, can you afford childcare and stuff like that?
So when we thought about having more than one child, we took that into consideration. Childcare is super expensive, but not just childcare. Clothing, food. We send our son to.
They grow so fast, and everything costs so much money.
So much money.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Just the equipment you need. You know, it's really expensive. So I look back and I think when I was growing up, families, 3, 4, 5 children, and I think, how do they afford it?
Well, ask my mum. She had 5.
Oh my God!
And she had one at 44, so she beat you by.
OMG! Wow.
She's also dead. You can't ask her.
Oh,
I love your mum.
But it's expensive, right? So there's so many reasons, I think, why people are having less and less children. Super expensive.
Yeah, why are people... So, no, let's get into this.
Yeah.
Why are people having less children? My theory, there are many theories, but my theory is that people don't think it's cool. They think it's sort of... It's like, oh, being a mum or a dad, I don't want to be that. I want to be this, I want to do that. Life is so leisurely for people now and easy that they'd rather just stay children themselves up until they, you know... Yeah, I'm not meeting...
I can see that, but I don't agree with that. I think the reasons, at least for me, and what I've seen amongst my circle is expensive, hard to juggle, childcare super expensive. It's just, it's not practical anymore to have 3, 4, 5 children.
Why not? Why shouldn't we have 3? I want 5, 6, 7 children.
Good luck. How many do you have?
I've got 2.
Okay, but you're stopping.
Well, I haven't made up my mind yet. We'll have a chat with Mrs. Wright when she turns up.
Okay.
But you know, there does seem to be a trend from young people and, you know, all those that, you know, we're looking at people coming out of university now who weren't alive during 9/11, for example. Every single thing that has happened to them in their lives has been catastrophic in terms of like financial crashes. Nothing has been, we haven't had a massive bit of good news for quite a long time. So they can't afford to be on the property ladder, they can't afford... So no wonder they're turning into socialists and telling us all what to do with our money, but B, going, I don't want kids, I can't afford my own life.
Exactly. So they become a little more selfish, in a way, selfish.
But don't you think that a country is a family, and the very bedrock of a country is the family unit itself, is where you learn everything, and that we should be celebrating and applauding both mums and dads who decide to stop and go, I'm going to not do this, I'm going to be a full-time child carer. Do you think we should celebrate that as well and make that as applaudable as being a multimillionaire?
Well, listen, I think you can't do it all, like I said, well. But, you know, a family unit, which used to be maybe, you know, mother, father, 2, 3, 4 children, is now mother, father, maybe father, father, mother, mother, whatever. Yeah. But one child, that's a family unit now. And that's a more accepted family unit nowadays, I think, because of the various reasons we just talked about.
But it's not, but it means we're going to be extinct.
It's very depressing.
So we don't need to worry about Extinction Rebellion extincting us. Anyway.
The planet will be in a better place. Less stress on the planet.
Less stress. Amy, a pleasure to meet you.
Nice
Thank you for coming on. That was Amy Ansell, entrepreneur and star of The Apprentice and mum of 1. You need to have 3 more, Amy, and we'll be all right. Coming up next on Farage But Fox, I am going to ask Calvin Robinson for his take on research out that shows 1/3 of university students believe that free speech and robust debate are being suppressed. I will be back in a moment.
We are GB News.
And we'd like to say thank you
to each and every one of you
for helping our great nation
find its voice.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Across England, Scotland,
Wales and Northern Ireland. On TV,
on radio and online.
We're proud to be
the People's Channel, Britain's
news channel.
On the Mark Stein Show, we cover the stories a lot of people are scared even to mention. The stuff that really matters with some of the world's biggest thinkers.
Now is his opportunity to kind of take the steering wheel of history.
Break away from the flop at 8 o'clock on GB News with the Mark Stein Show.
Hello, I'm Esther McVeigh.
And I'm Philip Davis.
Whether you're watching or listening on TV, online or on radio, we handpick the latest stories, debates and expert opinions for your weekend. So whether that's politics, news or showbiz, we've got it covered.
Join us every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on GB News.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.
You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh my goodness me! And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
Right, we have some audience reactions. Bill says, getting married or cohabiting is not something that smart men in the West do nowadays. Marriage is simply not a good move for men, where we have hostile, misandrous family courts, laws, and the divorce rate is 50% plus. No comment. One viewer says, you don't have to be married to have a family. Marriage is old-fashioned and irrelevant. Why? It's went along well for a long time. Not all marriages are great. Not all marriages are terrible. But it's a great institution. Anyway, John says, we need to celebrate marriage and monogamy again. Why is it that such norms have now become unfashionable? You'd have to ask the wokies about that one. Another says, let's get people back round the dinner table again. That is a good place to start. Amen, the dinner table. They build flats without dinner tables nowadays or dining areas. Another viewer says, I fear that marriage has now lost its respect. Interesting word, respect. People don't care, and I struggle to see how we can change this. Well, maybe by clapping and applauding fathers and mums who stay at home and raise children and put them at the pinnacle of society rather than people jetting around and being successful and having loads of money in their bank accounts that they can't take to their grave with them. As usual, get in touch with me at farage@gbnews.uk or tweet using the hashtag Farage on GB News. Now, more than 40% of GPs in England could leave the profession in the next 5 years, according to a report by the Royal College of General Practitioners, who have said that the industry is in crisis. Many are blaming burnout and work-related stress for their reasons behind leaving their jobs. Compared with the rest of the UK, figures are slightly lower in Scotland, with an estimated 36% of GPs predicted to leave, with 33% in Wales and 29% in Northern Ireland. Go Northern Ireland. Altogether, this would be around 22,000 GPs leaving the profession across the UK. A number of schemes are already in place to try and retain these GPs, and the number of people training to be one is rising, but it's not quick enough as a solution to help out with the current workload. With me to talk about this is Dr. Anne Cookson. Anne, does this figure surprise you?
Not at all.
Why?
This has been predicted for decades.
Decades?
Yes.
Right.
The history is there. It's tragic because the normal turnover should be around 3.2% per annum of retirements, illness and so on. So we are 10 times over the normal attrition in Europe.
Why?
This is a uniquely UK problem.
Okay, why are we 10 times more and why is it uniquely UK problem?
Entirely because of administration. Prior to a long time ago, in the 1970s, we introduced a tier of administration which has gradually become the bulk of the NHS.
The managers that we all moan about.
Absolutely. And doctors are now indentured slaves, basically. And as a result, they have poor work experience. They no longer feel represented in the system. And the trouble with doctors, they can walk. A really bright young colleague of mine, who I was helping out, is now going to Dubai. Now, for the NHS to lose her is ridiculous.
Why is the NHS losing her?
Well, she's fed up with going to NHS clinics and finding she's putting people on waiting lists, which go on for 2 years. She can't get the medications that the patients need. She can't provide the services because you can't get the physios, you can't get the social workers, you can't get... And it's just, sadly, a world where doctors who are trained to treat people find that all they can say to the person is that a treatment exists, but you can't have it.
Is the NHS fit for purpose?
Not at the moment.
Not at the moment. Why not?
Our outcome studies are a disaster. Individual
What's an outcome
treatments,
study? Sorry.
individual treatments are good. If you look at provision of care, general practice, which is now the orphan of the NHS, it's the only people worse than us are the dentists who've already left. But we've lost from 68% approval rating to 30% approval rating in 3 years.
So is the approval rating
of
when
patients saying whether they're happy with
30%?
From 68 to 30 since 2019.
That's amazing. So
it's terrible.
But you think, and also, but in the National Health Service, everyone goes, well, it's free. And it's like, no, it's not. You pay for it. It's called taxes.
It's free because they don't do anything.
Wow.
That's what free. If you don't get a meal, it's free.
Yeah. How do we restore faith and trust in our National Health Service? Because I think whenever to be fair to the Health Service, I find the bureaucratic nonsense appalling. But whenever something's happened to my kid or whenever something's happened to me, you wait around.
Well, this is the flip side of the NHS. When you, at the point of delivery, in other words, when you actually get treatment, the approval rating is stunning.
Right.
So the individual doctors, the individual nurses, the individual social workers and so on, when they're doing their job, they get really good rating.
Is that because of their vocational drive to help people?
Vocational drive,
yeah.
Exactly.
You really sense that.
But they are not given the tools to do the job. They're dealing with, just like industry generally, they're not given the right IT systems. They're not given the right telephone communication, enough telephone communication for the people who are needing to ring in. They're not given a system that works because the backlog has gone.
I think about this sometimes late at night. Is there someone on the NHS payroll who's being paid more than £100,000 a year tonight who hasn't done a day's work in 2 years, sat at home with their feet up on the sofa? Really? Because that's what I think the public fear is, that everyone tries to get behind the NHS, and then you get these terrible things, and waiting lists go off the charts, and people do this. But so, what can we do? Do we need to go take a hatchet to middle management, and the bureaucratic thing should? When my mum was a nurse, as you know, and she said that they called the shots on the ward.
In those days, yes.
And now someone else calls the shots on the ward.
They're told by an administrator what to do, how quickly to do it, and they're audited by somebody else who's paid double.
Which is, so no wonder they're leaving.
We don't need them. We pay the same amount of GDP per patient as Finland. Finland has the best health service in the world. We have the worst in Europe currently.
Really?
But we pay the same.
Is Finland publicly funded?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no private practice in Finland.
They're so much better at things up in Scandi, though, aren't they?
The difference
Hard rock.
is bureaucracy. And the thing in Finland is that your hospital and general practice administrators, public service administrators, are highly trained. They've got economics degrees and all sorts of accountancy degrees and so on. And 3 people can run a hospital.
Yeah.
But we have a very large, bloated, bureaucratic system of people who keep cancelling each other out. I can go on about that. But essentially, when you look, in 2015, the Conservative Party promised that they would have 4,000 extra doctors, 4,000 extra doctors in the NHS by 2019. Actually, there were 1,700 less. So the spin of politics doesn't match the money they say they're going to do and doesn't match the effectiveness of the boots on the ground. And the tragedy now is the doctors have decided they can't be the fall guy anymore, and they're walking. And they're walking with nervous breakdowns, they're walking sad, they don't want to leave England, they would far rather live near their homes and their families and whatever than commute from Dubai.
Sort it out, NHS. Dr. Anne Cookson, thank you very much. Lovely to see you. Right. Next, a recent report by the academics at King's College London has found that 1 in 3 students feel that free speech is threatened at their university. I'm surprised it's not more than that. Up from less than a quarter 3 years ago. It also found out that nearly half of students think that their universities are becoming less tolerant of a range of viewpoints. And just reading it makes me laugh. As our universities slide deeper into the wokery, we're seeing the very principles that made these institutions world-renowned and famous undermined, and it's our children and young people who are losing out. Instead of being taught how to think, they're being taught what to think. Disruptors and innovators are no longer allowed to challenge the establishment, and anything vaguely traditional is expunged like an embarrassed teenager hurriedly removing old social media posts. Joining me to discuss these chilling developments is Calvin Robinson, clergyman and free speech activist. Calvin, what do you think about this report?
Oh my gosh. We have a generation of snowflakes and wokesters who are afraid or petrified of being offended. That's what we have. So 3 years ago, roughly 20% of students thought that they'd be censored on campus. Now we've got 10% more than that are saying that they feel they're going to be censored on campus. But what's worse, what's scarier than that to me is 10% more than that think that they should be able to cancel their lecturers or their tutors or their dons if they are offensive. Who's to say what is offensive?
But so, just talk me through this. I never went to university because I was too thick, but thank God as well. Why is it in the interests of the university lecturer to spawn out a bunch of woke, tarred babies?
Because they want to get paid and they want to stick to their job. So
yeah, but wouldn't you expect there to be a gap filled in the market? So I guess well over 90% people lean hard left to leftist. Why wouldn't someone on the sensible centre or right go, there's a gap in the market here? Like in America, you've got Hillsdale and the other universities that are specifically centrist or centre-right. Where are they in England?
They're not. They don't exist.
Why not?
Because they get hounded out. Look at what happened to Professor Kathleen Stock.
Yeah.
She questioned the transgender ideology and she was booted out of her university, and the students really campaigned against her with hostility and vitriol. And we see this all over the place.
Can they not see that they're so thick? Surely the whole idea of learning is to go, when you're grown up, is to go point A, point B, and I will form this argument and we'll argue it. Why are they so scared in higher education? Here's my thing. Shall we just ban people from going to university and only have about 8 universities, and they all have to be absolutely, completely pro-free speech,
We could ban a lot of universities. We could get rid of a lot of university courses, that's for sure. But we're bringing in the HE bill, the Higher Education Bill, which is going to help with a lot of this, because it will mean that universities have to be actively promoting free speech rather than not undermining it. So that passive to active switch might help. But also there'll be repercussions. So if universities do cancel people or do silence certain demographics, there'll be fines that they'll have to pay. That'll make a difference because money speaks.
But won't then our clever friends on the other side of the argument who don't like free speech go, OK, well, we have to actively promote free speech. So what we'll actively do is we'll promote the worst kind of free speech there is, which is calling everyone a racist, a bigot, a fascist, a Nazi, an Oreo, a superficially black person.
But that's fine. That's good. Expose the lunacy of it all.
Drag them out to
We've
sunlight.
seen that this week, haven't we? Or last week with the trans ideology.
Yeah.
In that there's a teacher that is clearly not a woman, dressed with his prosthetic boobs, really at the extreme end of the trans argument. And normal people look at that and think, OK, something extreme is going on there. I don't like that. They're teaching my children and they are what's known as trans. We have to expose the lunacy of it all.
But the entire media establishment and modern social media establishment are against it. So, you criticise Russell Brand was taken down today.
Yeah.
Oh,
Again, that's a good thing. We've got a lefty who's been silenced and censored. So the left will have to start waking up because there's a massive left-right divide.
They won't, though. They carry on going in the crocodile analogy.
No, but so his supporters will be like, well, okay, what did he say that was wrong? Oh, and he apologised for what he said. He made a mistake. It wasn't like he was trying to shovel misinformation or disinformation. He just made a literal mistake, corrected it, and then look at the other end of the spectrum. People who are, CNN, MSNBC, who are pushing real misinformation and disinformation on purpose about the same topic that Russell Brand talked about, their videos are still up. So people's eyes are going to get opened to this stuff.
I think we should stop archiving. I think social media shouldn't be archived. I think the minute you've tweeted, it should last for 2 months. And then it can go into a special archive. You can have like Twitter Reel and then Twitter Archive.
We shouldn't have to hide our past. We should be.
No, I know, but it's the reason why people don't do free speech is because they're scared of saying anything wrong. So they don't, if they make a mistake, that's why they don't express themselves.
We've got to stop people from being scared. And it comes again down to the left-right divide. About 30% of people on the left in university think that free speech is an issue, whereas 68% of people on the right think that it's an issue. So it's a clear, Tory versus Labour divide here. We need to tell the lefties that it's okay to be offended. It's okay to hear thoughts and opinions different to your own. And I think the reason they believe in censorship and silencing the opposition and cancel culture is because their arguments are so malformed.
Crap.
Yeah. They're insecure in their debates. They can't debate with facts and figures and evidence. Therefore, they say you're not allowed to present your argument.
Yeah.
I'm having it this week. So I do a few talks in universities. One of them that I'm going to, in fact, I'll name and shame, Nottingham Trent University, have said that before Calvin Robinson can come and speak here, you need to go and speak to all of the societies that might take offence to him being here. So the people who are organising it are going to have to speak to the LGB lobby, the BME lobby, which are ridiculous ideas anyway.
Who are the BME lobby? Did you miss an A out?
No, they don't have an A.
That's racist.
There's no A in theirs. So I don't know,
so
black
the
and
Asian,
minority ethnics.
The Asians are out.
Nottingham doesn't care about the Asians.
Hang on a minute, Nottingham Trent. You can't do that to the Asians.
But you have to go and see everyone who might possibly take offence to a person coming to just speak, for goodness sake. And they have ideas like, let's make sure that everyone's backs are facing the doors so that if people want to leave, they don't feel under pressure. And if the people get afraid of what's being said, they can escape. It's like, are you seriously that afraid of taking offence to some mainstream views?
I think we need to make universities free speech places again, don't we?
Absolutely. And the way to do that is the HE bill. So it's passed the Commons, it's passed the second reading in the Lords. So hopefully after the committee stage, it will reach royal assent, and then we will have some legal backing for the next time a university wants to be woke and cancel some of its students or cancel some of its speakers. We'll have somewhere to go, the OFS, the Office for Students.
Calvin Robinson. I hate to say he's a friend, but he also makes huge amounts of sense.
God bless.
So thank you so much. God bless you, bro. Right. My first What the Fox moment, or not the Fox moment, actually. This is an interesting one. Sleepy Joe Biden is back with another blunder after he called out Jackie Walorski, the former Republican representative for the state of Indiana, at a conference, despite the fact that she had died in a car crash back in August. Biden looked around the room in Washington and said, "Jackie, are you here? Where's Jackie? She must not be here." With his press secretary saying he called for Jackie because she was top of his mind. Take a listen and let me know what you think.
And I want to thank all of you here for including bipartisan elected officials like Representative Governor, Senator Braun, Senator Booker, Representative Jackie, are you here? Where's Jackie? I didn't think she was going to be here, to help make this a reality.
You see, that's finally a gaffe by Joe Biden that I can really forgive, because things can be at the top of your mind. I mean, most of the, I'll often say someone's name who I've been thinking about. So, for all the criticism of Joe, I don't think the media should jump on him on this one. There are so many examples of if you don't vote for me, then you ain't black, which was one of the most strange things I've ever heard come from an American presidential nominee. I think we should, it's a chance for us to go, that's actually an understandable gaffe, and reach out over the aisle to Sleepy Joe, who is in serious cognitive decline. Anyway, my next What the Fox moment, a public service announcement for shop owners and entrepreneurs. The WHO has just informed you that every workplace should offer yoga classes to help reduce mental illness among staff. Personally, if I was starting a business, the first place that I would go for advice would be an intergovernmental organisation influenced by the Chinese Communist Party. But more vital wisdom for our benevolent nannies, what we'd all like to really see from an organisation that is supposed to be promoting global health is a proper investigation into how a novel coronavirus emerged in the city of Wuhan. Given their record, I have a small feeling that we won't get that out of the report, but in the meantime, we should all be bending over backwards to accommodate the stretching classes at work. Yoga may well be a worthwhile activity. I know many people who enjoy it. I'm not one of them. But I'd wager that having a playground for every workplace would be twice as effective at half the cost. It would make Take Your Child to Work Day much easier as well. Right, some more of your reactions to my question this evening. How do we make families great again? One viewer says, so many one-parent families with loads of kids, often with absent multiple fathers who pay nothing towards their children. This is a problem. Don't you marry a father, don't marry the state. That's what the Dems made you do in the 60s in America, and it turned out really badly. Right, legislate father's access in a way the same child maintenance is done. A woman can stop a father seeing their child, but they can still force them to pay child support. Thus, if a father is denied access with good cause, it should be an indictable offence. Make families great again by building cheaper housing, cheaper cost of living and reduced personal debt. Absolutely. Make it a personal thing, but give people access to housing. Right. Lee says, I'm a single dad who had custody of my children. Even as a single dad struggling with work and looking after my 5 children, my family smashed it and were great. Oh, what a smile on my face to read that. I love it when I was expecting that to go down, but it went up. Beautiful. Well done, Lee. Congratulations on you. Carl, parents telling their children you don't want to be tied down with kids has had a huge impact on birth rates. I don't know about that. Okay, so here we are. My favourite part of the day, the GB News Pub. Minutes away. From opening its doors, I will be joined by Alfie Cookson, the inspirational handyman made famous by a BBC documentary, and I will see you guys in a moment.
We are GB News.
And we'd like to say thank you
To each and every one of you.
for helping our great nation.
Find its voice.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Across England,
Scotland,
Wales and Northern Ireland. On TV,
on radio, and online.
we're proud to be
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
On the Mark Steyn Show, we cover the stories a lot of people are scared even to mention. The stuff that really matters with some of the world's biggest thinkers.
Now is his opportunity to kind of take the steering wheel of history.
Break away from the flop at 8 o'clock on GB News with the Mark Steyn Show.
Hello, I'm Esther McVeigh.
And I'm Philip Davis.
Whether you're watching or listening on TV, online or on radio, we handpick the latest stories, debates and expert opinions for your weekend. So whether that's politics, news or showbiz, we've got it covered.
Join us every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on GB News.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.
You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh my goodness me! And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
Yippee! The GB News Tavern is open for the last time this week for me. Thank you so much for having me. So I'm going to really enjoy this pint. Joining me today is Alfie Cookson, star of the BBC documentary Alfie, the Odd Job Boy of Clitheroe, about a young lad who found it hard to hold down a job, so he runs his own business with a tandem bike and a trailer and has become a bit of a hometown hero. He explains that people could look at me and think I'm daft, but at the end of the day, I'm making a living. Let's take a quick look at him in action.
Gutter cleaning, rubbish removals, drain and blocking, repairs, maintenance work. I can fit more on that push bike than you can in a van. And you think I'm lying.
Cheers.
This is my, if I were, oh, I'm gonna fly on there. This is my kind of job, you know this.
Is it?
This is what I want to try and do when I'm older, just like this. If I can drink on job, that's the life, innit?
I know, but what about
Got that for a bag of Guinness.
Is that right?
What
about the petition for the tip, though? Anyway, before we get into that, tell us about yourself.
Well, my name's Alfie. I'm from Clitheroe. My
name's Alfie. I'm from Clitheroe.
but my videos kind of explain what I do with my tandem and working in that kind of degree.
So for someone who hasn't come on, Alfie did this. Made a documentary BBC Three, and it went out, and it's had like 23 million views. Is that correct across platforms? And he he did doing odd jobs for people across his community, which is a wonderful thing. I love localism. And then you end up being banned from using...
Banned from the tip, Banned
from the tip.
How long ago that?
Is that the title of the documentary?
That was a while ago. That was like maybe like a year ago now.
Right.
But I got banned, so then I started doing other ways of making money. And as we're making this new film,
tell me,
we were filming...
before we go, sorry, I'm so useless at this. So let's start at the beginning. What got you into this in the first place? Who came up to you and said, I want to make a documentary about you, and why?
My mate Aaron, he was coming today.
Yeah.
From the start at the bottom, went to school, left school early, went mechanicking, got sacked from that.
Why?
I put battery the wrong way around on the car, and yeah. Anyway, so I got left from there, then I went to plumbing, tried doing plumbing, fell through a roof, flooded a few houses. Got sacked from that, and then I thought, right, well, if I can't hold down my own job, then I'll settle by myself, then I can't sack myself, can I? And then, you got to think, and then that's where I am today.
Cheers again to that. Okay, so you destroyed a car battery.
Yeah. Went through a few ceilings.
You flooded a few houses and fell through a ceiling.
Well, I tried another job as well, and I got sacked from that. But anyway, what I like about this job now, I can wake up when I want, get me dinner, have a beer when I want.
Yeah.
It's a life to live. But if I could do this for a living and have a drink on telly with you.
Well, you can. You are having a drink on telly with me. So, did you see? Were you feeling yourself personally that you weren't succeeding and there was no option? Or
I've never felt like I've never succeeded. I've always felt that I've always done what I've achieved in life, and I've always had a high spirit in my mind just to keep going.
Right.
So I've never been like put down before, but I just thought might as well try something new. But I bought my tandem not thinking if I were going to go and do working with my tandem.
Yeah.
It just all unfolded on itself.
And why do you think people have rallied? You know, it's really hard to analyse why someone likes something about you. But...
I think probably because maybe my way of life, how I think, probably my what's the word for thinking, like my look on life.
Yeah.
I think that's why. And maybe the way I do things is probably a bit quirky, what's probably not normal.
Yeah, I saw the trampoline.
Yeah, that was 16 foot, like, you know. I got
that was 16 foot.
That was one of...
There's a lot of unused trampolines in this world.
Well, it's not just that. It's like, imagine having, like, a car, and and where I'm from, it's a lot of, like, terraced houses, roads.
Yeah.
So you've got either side, and I bet I've only got about 16.5 foot gap. So I'm trying to get through these cars, put a few windscreens in and get through. But... You know what we're going to do before? We're going to bring some pork scratchings for us to have a bit of food.
I'm going to love... What's your favourite pork scratching?
Is it Mr. Chunky? Mr. Porky?
Yeah, but is that the ones that are a bit like...
gooey inside, yeah.
I like a gooey
knocks me sick sometimes when I have one of them. My favourites are bacon frazzles.
Bacon frazzles are your favourites of all time? They are pretty good, aren't they?
And my favourite pint's obviously Guinness.
And favourite pint is Guinness. So when you take over the world, which at 23 million views across all platforms, you're going to take over the world.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
I'm just going to keep going. Just keep doing. I've got a few things.
What's your first thought when you wake up in the morning?
I shouldn't say it, but a pint of Guinness.
Pint of Guinness?
No, I'm
morning?
joking. No, I'm joking. Probably my first thought is just crack on another day and just I take each day as it comes. Never really overthink things in life.
Yeah.
Each step, and as long as I make people happy and smile and I'm happy,
yeah.
My family's well, then I've got nothing to worry about, have I?
You're a celebrity in your community?
You could say so, yeah. Yeah, you could say so. I've been I post a lot of videos online as well, what people quite took to well.
Yeah.
But my next idea, what I've got is I want to do John O'Groats Land's End.
John O'Groats
Land's End. On my tandem.
Right.
And I've got a sofa. I'm going to put it on back at bike, get a bucket in there, and cycle right down, and you try and raise a few quid for a good charity.
So you're going to drag a sofa that you can sit on breaks from Land's End to John O'Groats and have some Guinness. Yeah. I mean, I've got to say, some of my favourite ambitions in the world. An absolute pleasure to meet you, Chum.
Oh, thank you very much, sir.
Good for you.
You too.
Right, so there's just a couple of minutes left on the show, so it's time for a few of your questions for me in Out Fox the Fox. Robert asks, is the Bank of England at war with the Conservative Party? Yes. One viewer asks, do you think we should leave it to the EHCR and the Refugee Convention? I think that EHCR is a complication and makes it very, very difficult and makes everything to do with our immigration system even more difficult. Anyway, right, another viewer asks, do you have any commentary on the online security bill and digital currency? Yes. The government cannot legislate. The only thing the government should do when it comes to any online bill to do with anything to do with speech online is apply English law to it. If you're not breaking English law, it's some idiot blue-headed, I want to say beep words, but they keep telling me in my ear that I'm being bad, is that England should have a digital border. And if it doesn't break, if what is being spoken online does not break in British law, then it should be allowed to be said online. Sue asks, what are your thoughts on Sadiq Khan having to attend the Police and Crime Committee? My thoughts on Sadiq Khan is I try not to think about him too often because he upsets me hugely in the fact that he spends all of his time virtue signalling his way up to the top of the Labour Party whilst young boys are stabbing each other in the street. Tina asks, is it possible that Boris could come back in the future as Prime Minister again? I would say absolutely not. I think Boris's day is done. Another viewer asks, I'm done for the day. No, they don't. I asked that. I am done for the day. Coming up next is Mark Stein. Mark, I just got lectured for saying all the wrong words on TV. Will you call me and make me feel better about it?
Well, actually, I'm done for the day. Oh, wait, no, that's Laurence's line. That's, this is good. This is like, you know about this. This is like the first read-through of a really bad play. Cracking show, Laurence. Great stuff on demography, by the way, as a certain best-selling author, that's me, wrote in a book a long time ago, The Future Belongs to Those Who Show Up, and right now the English, Scots, Irish, Welsh, and the Europeans, East and West, aren't showing up demographically. We're going to try and keep it going. We might even have a bit more on that for the next hour. That is all coming up after the weather.
Alex Deakin here with your latest weather update. Friday couldn't be any more autumnal if it tried. A chilly start with a few fog patches and then things turning wet and windy as an area of low pressure developing out in the Atlantic at the moment comes swinging our way. Ahead of that, we've got a couple of weather fronts still providing one or two showers around through this evening, but they are fading away, drifting away to the south, and most places will be dry through this evening with lengthy clear spells across England and Wales. But clouding over across Scotland and Northern Ireland as those weather fronts approach and the winds pick up here too. That'll help to keep the temperatures up across the far northwest, but for England and Wales it will be a bit of a chilly night, and we are going to see that mist and fog forming as well, which could still be around for Friday morning's rush hour, but it should tend to clear, and then bright spells for a time over central and eastern England. But here comes the rain, wet and windy weather swinging across Scotland, Northern Ireland, and eventually into parts of northwest England and Wales. As we head into the afternoon, that rain will continue to track over into northeast England and the Midlands. The far southeast and East Anglia may stay largely dry until late in the day. 17 possible here.